Good evening, everybody. Glad that more of you are making it onto these streams tonight. My name is Thomas Sheedy, president of Atheists for Liberty, and I'm so glad that all of you are tuning in. Happy Giving Tuesday. I am so glad as well that more and more of you are becoming members of the organization, becoming a part of our online events. The Discord server is blowing up. So we just recently had an amazing event in our Discord server, kind of a Thanksgiving potluck, where we went over what each of us were doing over the Thanksgiving holiday. We're kind of growing a mini family thanks to all of you. We're doing a lot, both online and in person, concluding the year by building up our membership, having more events, and reaching out to each of you, by the way, to get you involved with our in-person events that are now going to be happening in 10 different states around the country with our state director program. But not only does Atheists for Liberty defend Enlightenment values, but for all of you who usually tune in, we like to platform the greatest minds of the 21st century. And the guest that I have on today is an absolute pleasure to work with. He's been an ally and a friend of the organization since we became public in 2020. And I am so glad to have him on tonight. It's going to be really fun because we got a bunch of different content to review. The culture wars are always getting crazy. And a lot of you have been telling me, we did this for past 2 episodes where we will go ahead kind of in a Tim Pool style, I guess you could say, and review different videos and go over different kinds of craziness and madness that are happening, as we speak. So we kind of have that set up, and we're going to go ahead and wing with it. We're going to also showcase your questions and comments later on in the show. But guys, if you really like what we're doing here and are impressed by what we're doing here at the current speed that we're at, become a member today of Atheists for Liberty at atheistsforliberty.org. All donations, by the way, are going to be doubled. All donations will be doubled. Today is Giving Tuesday. And between now and the end of the year, between now and December 31st, thanks to the David Silverman donor match, David Silverman himself donated $10,000 to make sure that this organization continues its fight for free speech, free thinking, and freedom for all. So our member of the week, speaking of membership, our member of the week is James Langford. Be like James, guys, and again, become a member today at atheistsforliberty.org. You also like seeing more content on this YouTube channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're watching us on Twitter, or X now, or on Facebook, be sure to follow us on those platforms as well. And our handle for most of them is at Atheist Liberty. Again, that's at Atheist Liberty. Or you can just search up Atheists for Liberty, and you'll be able to see it. So that shouldn't be much of a problem there. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest. He is a YouTuber and commentator known as RuinOfTheGods. I highly suggest more of you subscribe to his channel. We have his information in the description below. And he's been an amazing ally and really, really principled individual. He knows more about political philosophy and political ideology than I do. And I am proud to call this man my friend here, RuinOfTheGods. Thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Thank you for having me, Thomas. It's an honor.
The pleasure and honor actually is all mine. It's an honor to have you here. And when we were planning out what kind of episode we were going to have tonight, I thought, you know what? Ruin would actually be a very, very good guest in the format that we've kind of been having over the past few weeks, because we're going to be reviewing some nutty stuff. And we're going to go over it piece by piece. And based on all the discussions that we've had in the conservative movement, the liberty movement, all the conferences and states around the country that you and I have been to together, I couldn't think of a better guest to have on today to talk about these topics than yourself. So I think it's going to be fun. There's going to be quite a bit of banter. And let's just jump right into it. And everybody, you can watch me with my boomery kind of tech skills as I try to share my screen here. So I'm going to go ahead on StreamYard and change the... oh my God. Okay, wait. We're going to change the format here. Present, share screen, entire screen, done. Ooh. So first off, we have a video of Andrew Tate being interviewed by Piers Morgan. This is a 2-part series, but we're only going to be talking about 2 minutes of footage here, but I really wanted to tap into this. So Andrew Tate, he is one of the most controversial figures in the world and one of the most famous figures in the world currently. Talks about gender-related issues. There are people who vehemently like him, and a lot of people who really, really, really do not like him. And I want to get into some of the points he made specifically about his situation. He's talking to Piers Morgan right now at the 16-ish minute mark about how he can't leave Romania. He's in a bad situation. Piers Morgan is kind of questioning him about the circumstances of that. Watch his answer. Watch the answer that he gives for surviving in his situation.
All right, so I don't have any audio.
You don't have any audio.
Yeah.
Let's
It's
see.
not streaming to me.
Let's see if I can make that higher. What about now?
No, I can't hear it.
Let's see.
The YouTube stream to see if the people on YouTube can hear it.
I've done this in the past, and I'm very surprised that you can't hear. Let's see. For people that are watching, comment in the live chat if you were able to hear me play the Tate interview with Piers Morgan. We'll wait for a second on that. And this, rolling literally. This is the struggle of going live. No audio here either. Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and try one more time. And let's see if we can have that done. If not, we'll go ahead and just comment on this situation. On all three different videos, and what I'll do then is I can link the videos in the description, so people can then take a look at the videos and come to their own conclusions. So I'm going to go ahead, share my screen again. Let's see. So window. Let's go ahead and just do Brave tab. Piers Morgan versus Andrew Tate. Okay, let's try now. So we'll go back to 1620.
Thank God, I'm going to leave.
I can hear.
Take care of what's paid. Do I have any money
Awesome.
left? Our bills.
You can hear or can't hear?
I can hear. If you can turn that volume up a little bit.
Yes, we fixed it. Okay, I'm going to turn the volume up. This is we're going to rename the video to Thomas Sheedy's Boomer Takes on technology and using YouTube while using StreamYard. So this is you'll all be able to say I was in the early days where Thomas looked very silly operating this. But anyways, this is Andrew Tate being interviewed by Piers Morgan, talking about the situation that he's in Romania right now. Let's hear the solution that Andrew Tate offers when it comes to getting out of his current predicament.
Is mom okay? Are my children okay? And I just start thinking about work. And as soon as I got out, I didn't sleep for 3 days.
How many children do you have?
That's confidential.
Why?
Because I have enemies, and unfortunately, I do not want to give them any information.
But you have more than one.
I have more than one, correct?
Right. So obviously you're caring for your children. I understand that as a father, right? And obviously, and you have a partner?
Yes.
Are you married?
No.
I think I asked you last time and you were a bit cryptic about it. You're not married yet?
No.
You have a partner who's the mother of your children?
Correct.
The same woman is the mother of all your kids?
It's confidential.
It's a bit stupid to say confidential.
It is confidential, Piers. It's
I
confidential.
don't think you marry and have kids with is confidential, sure.
It is for me.
Really?
Of course, I am basically #1 enemy of the state, Piers. Look what they've done to me. What have they put me in jail for? At the beginning of this garbage, people were sitting there thinking, maybe he's a human trafficker. It's been a year. Who? Show me a picture. Show me a video. Who's even a victim? There's nobody. The whole thing is made up.
Well, we're going to come to what they say you've done, right? We're going to come to that. But I'm just curious. You come out of prison. You've got no ability to access any of your assets. How have you been functioning financially since then?
I believe in prayer and I trust in God.
Well, prayer doesn't pay the bills.
And I do my very best.
But prayer doesn't pay the bills.
Unfortunately, absolutely everything I own was seized by the Romanian state. So I'm just going to have to survive and do my very best.
Yeah, but how?
I'm doing my very best, Piers.
Have you got wealthy benefactors helping you?
I'm doing my very best. I wish I had wealthy benefactors. I wish I had people on my side.
Yeah, but you can't function on no income at all.
Seems you can.
How?
I'm doing my very best, Piers.
What does that mean?
It means I'm doing my very best. Absolutely everything I own is taken by the Romanian state. I don't have anything they don't have.
So that's Andrew Tate talking right there about his current situation. I find it to be quite silly. Andrew Tate was known as being this big man of wealth and style throughout 2022, right? Look at how many Bugattis I own or fast cars that I have. I have all this money. Well, assets are taken by the Romanian government, and because he believes in prayer, it's going to be okay. No talk about any potential wealthy benefactors. Just God's going to come in and save the day. Now, what I find to be quite annoying, and you guys can all of you can go onto YouTube and search up Andrew Tate atheism, Tristan Tate atheism. They claim to both be former atheists, and they have been saying that, oh well, I'm a rationalist and I'm religious now and I'm a Muslim. I don't know if Tristan's has converted to Islam yet, but I know Tristan at least claims to be a Christian, I think. And they say, well, the atheists, they're the ones who believe in gender ideology. They're the ones who believe in wokeness. And therefore, atheism is false and theism is true. And these are the kind of takes now on religion that you're seeing from the Tate brothers. These are their best arguments when it comes to that. It's quite silly. I think in the Tristan Tate interview with Piers Morgan, he actually talks about how he used to emulate Christopher Hitchens a lot. What would Christopher Hitchens even think of a take like that, that prayer is going to save the day? When the Romanian government seizes your assets, well, I believe in prayer, so it's all good. These are the kind of talking points that we need to adhere to and believe from these people.
Honestly, Thomas, I think that he's saying that has less to do with ideology and more to do with him trying to protect whatever cash flows he has from scrutiny. I don't think this. He's just using his ideology as a excuse not to answer the question, which, in all honesty, I mean, Piers is not entitled to know that information either.
Especially like if you're like one of the most famous people in the world, you're not going to disclose much information about your family or your children,
or especially if you're under this much scrutiny. Now, I'm not an Andrew Tate fan. I have no motive to defend the guy, but I don't think that him saying, "Oh, God's providing for me," or prayer is what's keeping me going. Honestly, I see that less of a him trying to make a ideological statement and more of him trying to protect himself.
Yeah. But that's the crux of the issue there, isn't it? You have to still use this idea of faith to protect yourself and to lie instead of having the liberty and the ability to be truthful about your views. So that's the problem that I'm seeing here. So now you're having the Tate brothers influence, thousands, if not millions of young men to kind of believe in this political religion, even if they might not believe in it themselves. Now, I'm not saying that they're atheists. Maybe they do actually believe in God now, but it's just, Piers Morgan was correct when he did say prayer doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't.
Of course it doesn't.
You can't pray Romanian away everything. You can't pray away gender ideology,
Yeah, I mean, maybe Tate can pray himself another Bugatti. I don't know. Tate's blatant and flagrant materialism that he's exhibited in the past is completely anathema to the more fundamentalist, Islamic views. And honestly, his efforts to try and use the Islamic religion as some means to legitimize himself and his rather flagrantly luxury-bound and degenerate way of living is particularly it's funny to me, right? It's funny that that Islam, a rather serious, austere religion, is being used by this silly man as a way to not only defend himself now, but also as an excuse for his views in the past. Now, yeah. I don't know if the charges levied against him are legitimate. It seems to me, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the right to a speedy trial. And it seems to me that if he hasn't been convicted of anything at this point, then there's no... If Romania isn't planning on prosecuting him, then they should let him leave the country.
Right.
But that being said, it does seem... The charges levied against him seem pretty serious. So Romania...
Yeah, and like Piers Morgan said in that interview, Piers Morgan said in that interview, we'll see what the court of not only public opinion, but what the courts in Romania say about this matter. I think if the results haven't come out now since the uploading of that interview, they're probably going to come out fairly soon. So we'll let everybody else, you can all form your own opinions when it comes to that matter when it happens. So, but that's my issue mainly with Tate now. He is also kind of fetishizing this idea that these old ideas are somehow going to solve people's problems, when he was one of the most famous men in the world. And prayer does not get him out of Romanian jail. Prayer does not get him to the freedom to leave Romania. The one thing I'll agree with him on was that I think it was in that interview, he said that in his situation when he was trapped in a cell, the only thing he could do was start doing push-ups, start making himself productive and taking care of his body and his health. That's using reason in the situation that you're in then and there. So that's the only thing I'll agree with him on. But everybody can formulate their own opinions on that situation as time proceeds to unfold. Yeah. But I wanted to go over that. So now
Tate doesn't seem to have the wherewithal to realize that this dearth of masculinity in modern society that he thinks he's the remedy for comes from self-motivation, not from abject servitude to some greater authority. It's interesting because the whole, when you have nothing left, you just keep going and keep pushing forward. That is a self-motivation. That isn't that's not a
declaration of faith.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think that faith in yourself is far more important for enduring hardship than just basing everything off of some sort of a hope that someone else is going to save you. If anything, hope for outside assistance from the supernatural, from beyond, is a paralytic, not a motivator.
Now you see why I decided to have you on. So that was Andrew Tate. Now we have a segment on, and I'll share this in a moment. There's Brett Cooper. She is a host at the Daily Wire. She's one of the famous hosts that has an internet show, and she decided to give her commentary on Logan Paul criticizing his colleagues' religious beliefs. Now, to be fair, I have not seen the full Brett Cooper video, so we're going to be going over most of this in real time. Maybe there'll be some things we agree with Brett on, some things we disagree with on. But I want to state also, Brett Cooper is an atheist. Brett Cooper isn't religious. So I saw the first minute of it, and you'll see the argument she has against Logan Paul, and I just couldn't disagree even more. I so wanted to make sure that we covered this. So what was it? What are we going to do here? We're going to do this again. No, this again. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Here we go. So let me know if you can hear this as well.
Welcome back to the comment section. I'm Brett Cooper. So, YouTuber Logan Paul, he has recently established a reputation of ridiculing his friends and guests on his shows for their morals and their religious beliefs that he disagrees with, which is a terrible thing to get a reputation doing. Now, the internet has collectively started to hate him for it, which was honestly...
I already feel like I have to pause. We haven't even gone into Logan Paul, and we already
Isn't that exactly what she does?
This is
people's beliefs.
Exactly. What are all these shows online and these platforms, at least when it comes to political commentary, especially in the anti-woke space, known for? Criticizing other people's beliefs and other people's positions. I would argue, in some cases, rightly so. How did Ben Shapiro become so big? Facts don't care about your feelings. How did half of these people become so big? Because they were seen as these controversial, edgy people that opposed views that they saw as illogical or not rational. But it's apparently uncalled for when somebody else's irrational beliefs are criticized. It's, without even seeing the Logan Paul video here yet, without even seeing that, already I just disagree with the way she's framing the argument.
Honestly nice to see in today's society where Doja Cat and Sam Smith are considered normal. But what's even better to see is that instead of letting Logan embarrass them for their beliefs and shame them into silence, two of these creators who he's ridiculed have completely left their secure, successful positions, working around him to lean into their beliefs even further, which I, of course, think is awesome. Not falling into the mainstream trap of ditching your morals and what you believe in is something that is incredibly rare today and should be celebrated. But before we get into this story, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this channel if you've not already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a comment section or off the clock episode. All right, so for a little background, here is a clip of Logan trying to embarrass and ridicule his best friend at the time, George Janko, on their podcast, Impulsive. Just listen to this.
We pick on each other and other things, it's totally fine. Like you suck at comedy. I get that. Everybody knows that. All that stuff. But when it comes to religion, you have to tiptoe.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Well, I do with anybody. And by the way, you brought up like Muslims and Jews. Dude, I sit at synagogues and talk to rabbis all the time, pick their brains. I sit with Muslim people. They're most peaceful people. We went to Saudi Arabia.
Right? I want you to say it right now.
Who's right?
Whose God is real?
My God is real in my eyes.
Not Allah.
I don't believe that Allah is real in my eyes.
Ruin, imagine if the argument was, I identify as X, Y, or Z when it comes to my gender, or I identify as transracial when it comes to some kind of woke identity, right? And if Brett Cooper or Ben Shapiro or Michael Knowles or Clavin or whatever, if they were streaming a video right now of, well, identifying as Z gender, that's real in my eyes. Again, you would see these hosts laugh and rightly criticize that, but because it's faith, all of a sudden, then we're not going to be in facts over feelings mode.
Well, she's playing to her religious audience. Now, I got to say that Logan Paul is a rather odious individual, and I've never felt the need to follow the man, particularly due to a lot of the stunts that he's done in the past. He's not exactly a pillar of the community or a stunning intellect. But that being said, all that he's doing in this particular circumstance is asking a rather reasonable question, which is, okay, well, whose God is real? You're saying that I can't criticize religion because you're religious and you sit with religious people of other religions. Okay, that's nice, but why should I tiptoe around religion and not around other topics? This guy's doing special pleading. He's asking for a special kid glove treatment for the topic, simply because it's personal to people.
And to be fair, we might find some of Logan's answers or Logan's criticisms to be either irrational or maybe his behavior to not be professional. Maybe there will be some things that Brett Cooper says that we agree on. I've only kind of gotten to this mark before I decided that we should review it on this stream. But already, just in the opening, we're 1 minute and 28 seconds into a 12-minute, 11-second Daily Wire segment here on YouTube, and already look at how much we're already sighing over the silliness of this. It's so we'll see.
As
a lot of Muslims would disagree with you.
But does that mean I have to disrespect their beliefs? No. And you're so like power driven that you will mow past your friends and family without knowing.
If I say something, I've said it intentionally. Can you give an example of
one that really hurt me is you told me I need a therapist because I believe in Jesus.
Which is literally something that Logan Paul said.
What do I need a therapist for then?
Okay, so this is maybe where I would disagree with Logan Paul and agree with Brett Cooper. I do think that religion, you just like various different extremes, you're indoctrinated into it. I do view religion as a mind virus. It definitely is. But just from an optics perspective as well, telling your religious colleagues or close friends or family members that they need to see a therapist because they believe in God. And I agree, God is very much a firebrand atheist, an invisible magic man in the sky. Even sort of the most militant atheists have existed on the planet. We don't tell our religious friends and allies, oh, you need to see a therapist because you believe in God.
Characterizing religion as a mental illness is unhelpful to everyone. Yeah, I mean, it may very well be, but the thing is, it's completely unhelpful because it just doesn't convince anyone of anything, right? It's far better to actually address the arguments and to show why the arguments themselves are absurd rather than just these blanket statements that I see a lot of
Right.
self-described firebrands use. Right? There's a right way to be a firebrand and a wrong way to be a firebrand.
Exactly.
The right way to be a firebrand is to denounce the tyranny of heaven and to characterize the actions of a malevolent tyrant god as being exactly what they are. That is the right way to be a firebrand.
Right. Like you and I are not, soft atheists or soft humanists or kind of milquetoast agnostics. No, you and I are very passionate atheists. For anybody who goes to Ruin of the Gods channel, look at his videos on religion. They are filled with passion. There's no softballs really thrown. And I'm by the way, I'm very glad that is the case. We need more people that are willing to, attack and criticize the ideas head on. But there's a right way to be passionate, and there's unoptical and really, quite frankly, wrong ways to be.
Well, it's also just illogical, because by just characterizing religion as a mental illness, what you're doing is it's just a veiled ad hominem. You're saying, oh, you're just mentally ill, rather than actually addressing the logic.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different from the Christian saying, oh, you're an atheist just because you want to follow trends, or even the more classic version, you're an atheist because you want to sin. Right? It's ad hominem. It's not argument.
Agreed.
Jesus isn't doing it for you, and I
what do I
believe
need a therapist for?
I don't believe you're as emotionally mature as you could be.
So his friend George is literally saying, I am interested in religion. I'm interested in other people's religious beliefs. I respect them. I believe that, my God is the true God, but that doesn't mean I'm going to disrespect people. And here's Logan being the complete polar opposite. And you're saying, no, just because you believe in Jesus, what gives you the authority? It's completely misrepresenting George's beliefs and what he's trying to say. But that's not all. Here's another clip.
I'll be honest with you, bro. Jesus Christ, you bashing me in front of a group of people for my beliefs is not right. Genuinely, I know people that hate me, that treat me better about my faith than you, and you're my best friend.
Definitely questioning why we have to perpetuate a belief that is silly.
That thing that George said is incredibly powerful, that there are people that hate him, but are more respectful about his religious beliefs than his best friend.
All right,
that's
so
not great.
I think we should pause the video right here. Logan Paul he's a fucking moron. that is the conclusion that I'm drawing from this. I mean, he may be on the right side of the issue here, but he's just being an asshole. He's not actually presenting arguments. Now, of course, that's not to say that. Yes, Brett Cooper is doing a good job in highlighting his assholery, but she's got the idea that I think there's some conflation going on. Let's keep watching.
Oh, big time. And I don't like that this is like the golden ticket. I feel like, just from a marketing and media perspective, I bet the Daily Wire producers who found this segment, who then probably gave the script to Brett Cooper, this is the video we're going to be going over today. It gives ammo to the people that despise atheism. It gives the people that are passionate atheists who think that we need to be understanding about where atheists are coming from about religion. They must be like Logan Paul. That does us a disservice. It makes our jobs much harder, and it makes Brett Cooper, I would assume, and I don't want to put words in Brett Cooper's mouth, it makes people like Brett Cooper, who I was told is an atheist. I was told this by somebody who works at the Daily Wire, that Brett is an atheist. That is confirmed. That, I'm going to now be more and more quiet about my atheism, or I'm going to criticize atheism more, or defend religion more, and not be consistent in treating religion like we treat these other pervasive ideologies. It's their golden ticket, and I cringe. I cringe when I see this stuff, because it makes it harder for us when we're trying to show people the opposite thing.
That's not a good look for Logan whatsoever. And he got torched online for this. One person said, what type of friend is this? He's mocking George's faith and tries to cancel him. Another person said, Logan Paul shows his true colors. Absolutely disgusting way to talk about somebody's religion, especially a friend who you love. Shameful. Another person said, Logan Paul lost my respect, man. Don't you ever disrespect another man's religion. I'm proud that George kept a level head during this conversation. Disgusting behavior from Logan, and he needs to learn from this. And I think one important note is that Logan was not trying to have some productive conversation about faith, or learn about George's faith, or push back on questions, things that he's been working through. He has no interest in understanding. His entire premise is, this is silly. Why do you believe in it? I'm going to shit on you, for believing in Jesus, in God. He was combative and he just wanted to fight. And it was.
Only thing I'll say is imagine if this is a left-wing podcast showcasing a right-winger criticizing BLM, gender ideology, anything woke, and them saying, oh, well, look at how I agree that Logan Paul's mannerisms were not good. They weren't professional. It was really, really bad. But I cringe at the hypocrisy.
So the problem here is that she and the commenters are conflating Logan Paul's behavior towards the person with whom he's supposedly friends with ridiculing the idea itself, right? Yeah. Logan Paul is, as I said, he's engaging in ad hominem. He's basically saying you're dumb for believing this, rather than just actually pointing out why the logic itself makes no sense.
Right.
And yet the title of this video and the people who are posting, they're all saying, oh yes, he's insulting this person's religion, right? Right. That's the conflation. The conflation is that the insulting of their religion is the
problem
thing, not the insulting of the person.
Yes.
But that's the thing, is they view them as one and the same, and that is a big problem. That's the whole reason why leftists criticize or characterize criticism of Islamophobia of Islam as being Islamophobia and an attack on Muslims. And
I bet you that, I wouldn't be surprised if this segment exists. If you look probably at Sam Harris's interview with Ben Shapiro, several years ago, I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Shapiro nodded with Sam Harris, if Sam Harris said on the show, all the criticisms of the quote unquote left when it comes to Islam, because the left doesn't make the distinction between Islam and Muslims. And I bet you that if Sam said that, Ben Shapiro would be like nodding in agreement. But when it's Christianity, no.
It wasn't even like George was saying anything provocative about Christianity. It wasn't like he started jumping on, the Christian beliefs surrounding abortion. If he did, though, he should have brought up preborn. According to a recent report, Planned Parenthood continues to.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get past the.
The biggest takeaway here is that Planned Parenthood is generating /.
There we go.
Now, even though he did not bring it up,
actually, I want to comment.
If George.
I'm sorry, you were saying?
I didn't realize I was muted. It's interesting that the ad that she's doing is I find it interesting, and I find it good when people do ads that are at least somewhat relevant to what they do.
Yes.
A lot of gun channels have ads for USCCA, which is it's topical, right? So I do appreciate that she's pursuing advertisers that actually cater to the
demographic that they're trying to market to.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I wonder what this organization actually is, because we did kind of skip through it.
Yes.
It's
preborn. Yeah. That's what it is. Exclamation point. Preborn.
Yeah. So I wonder what her stance on abortion is. Is it straight up the life?
I would assume she's pro-life, or at least publicly in front of the camera, she says she's pro-life.
Yeah. All right.
Had brought up any of those hot button issues, because I think it would have caused a lot more chaos. If he was pressing George to go deeper for a good reason and, create some kind of productive dialogue, it would be a totally different story, and I would respect that. But he was backing his friend into a corner for no good reason. Another person commented and said George should really reconsider.
I would agree with Brett Cooper if the title of this video wasn't Logan Paul ridicules Christianity. If it was Logan Paul is mean to his Christian friend, or Logan Paul ad hominem attacks his religious friend wrongly, or something like that, that would be a much better title. And what Brett Cooper just said, reasonably so just now, that would make sense with the title of the video. But it's just marketing into anti-atheism. And that's the problem here.
Yeah.
Consider his friendship with Logan. Exactly. And spoiler alert, he did. Regardless of your own beliefs, you shouldn't ever ridicule your best friend for what he believes, especially not on a platform with millions and millions of people viewing. If he does this online, imagine what he says to George when the cameras are off. It actually reminds me a lot of folks that I knew while I was in college who I considered good friends. This was like the group of people that I hung out with the most. And we all got along. We had fun together. I knew them for a while, but I was consistently and constantly ridiculed for my values and for things as stupid as being from the South, which is apparently looked down upon by people from big cities and on the West Coast. I dealt with snide remarks in group chats to loud, drunken proclamations of my backwards nature at parties, like public proclamations of things that were not true. And I just took it all because I thought that it was normal and I didn't want to rock the boat. My mother and brother literally had to tell me those are not your friends. Those are not things that friends do, in order for me to go like, oh, I've been so conditioned to think that this is totally fine and that I just need to take it. But I literally had to be shocked out of it. It doesn't matter if these people still hang out with you and on the surface treat you fine. Friends do not treat you like that. Friends do not do what Logan did to George. You shouldn't have to take it. I'm glad that I decided not to take it. And George Janko decided he did not want to take it either. So instead of folding under the societal pressure to just cave and stay in his position of power and, financial security by being around Logan, he left. He felt disrespected and he separated from Logan and the show. This is what he tweeted earlier this year. He said, to all the impulsive fans, I am so sorry that I can't speak about things. Not my choice. That's never a good look. I do love you guys. And for those of you sending me the clip of them talking shit, it's all love. I've already moved on from that toxic environment. And even after being embarrassed and ridiculed by his best friend, he still does not speak ill about him. It's not that he's just avoiding talking about it. He does not throw Logan under the bus.
The whole internet right now is asking me the same question. Is like, what's going on with you and Impulsive? And it's so hard being in it. This is my first time I ever even mentioned it.
Mhm.
This is very hard to like bring up drama because like I'm not a drama channel, bro.
Yeah.
I also don't like. I have me and them have like a little tension between us right now, but I'm not gonna go out and dog them online or like talk ill about them. I have a disagreement with them, so it's I get what you're saying. It's very uncomfortable when people want to know so much that you're like, that's just not how I work, bro. I don't even tell like friends that are passing what's going on in my life. Like I deal with it like a man, the way my dad told me, deal with it, handle it between you and the people. And if that's not working out, then sell it to TMZ. And I'm just kidding.
It's a good ending. Somebody commented and said, George never really fitted in there. He's too much of a real person, down to earth with morals and standards. And that certainly does not paint Impulsive in a good light. So it's no surprise that George left. And now he started his own podcast called The George Janko Show, where he talks openly about his beliefs. He's not censored. He's not ridiculed. He talks about it with passion. It's a great time. But he is not the only one who has made this transition. Another huge example of somebody sticking with their morals online is the creator Gideon. And his story actually also starts with Logan making fun of him on his podcast. Now, Gideon had not really been too outspoken about his faith or his beliefs in the past, but he got questioned about his faith while on Logan's podcast, and this is what happened.
So you believe in God because he got you subscribers?
No, I believe in God because of just what he's done in my life.
He got you subscribers?
Not even that. No, it's just I was in a very dark place. I didn't know where I was gonna go. Like I was stuck. I was like neck deep in mud, and I got pulled out. And I give all praises to him because I feel like whenever I don't put him first, that's when the most shit in my life happens. And it's so easy when like everything's going good.
It's a blessing you could see that, bro. That's such a blessing you could see.
You don't think you had anything to do with pulling yourself out of the mud?
There's only so much.
That's a valid question.
See,
that's a valid question, and it actually wasn't framed so disrespectfully either.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I have no objection to what Logan Paul did right here because what he said was perfectly reasonable. It's like
it might get worse in like 2 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
that is true. As I said, he's an odious individual. I mean, years back, didn't he like pull that stunt with some body in the suicide forest or something? It was some fucking shit that he did back in the day. But what he just said right here, though, seems perfectly legitimate. A lot of these Christians, what they'll do is they'll attribute the little good things in life to God blessing them, or
that must be God looking over me.
It's like God got me. Like this guy, he's successful, and he attributes that to God rather than to his own hard work. It's like, oh, so God got your subscribers. So that's literally what you're saying.
And who knows? Maybe this guy,
the subscribers to subscribe. It's
Well, I'm sorry. This is how passionate I am. I'm interrupting without even realizing it. When it comes to this guy, maybe I don't know anything about it, right? The guy that Logan Paul is interviewing. I know nothing about this guy. I know nothing about how he was raised religious or whatever. Maybe he is grifting. Maybe he's not. I have no idea. But if he is, that's not a bad idea to call that out. So. I guess we'll find out more in the next 4 minutes here.
What you can do. There's some things like I'm pretty sure even in your career, you're just like, how did I do this? You know, the human body and mind can only do so much. There's some things where it's just like there's some situations that just happen. It's just it can't be by chance. It can't just be, you know, coincidental.
It never ceases to amaze me how disinterested Logan is about other people's experiences in their faith. Like, they're not asking him to convert or change.
So let's pause the video right here. So she's characterizing his arguments here as being disinterested in their experiences. Now she's committing the logical fallacy because she's treating anecdote as if it's an argument.
Can you imagine, John? And I'll bring up a similar example again, like I've done a few times here. Imagine her saying, "Isn't it horrible how Logan Paul has no interest in this person's experience and coming out as non-binary or transracial, or in support of the experience of Black Lives Matter?"
Yeah,
how
lived experience is just the left-wing version of personal testimony.
Yeah.
Right. That's all it is. It's like, oh, well, it's my testimony, right, of a God working within me, or of the gender dynamics working in me to make me see the truth, that the physical reality of me is,
the truth of his experience against Islamophobia.
It's the same kind of thing. It's give credence to what I say about my experiences rather than to the logic of my arguments. It's an attempt to substitute reason for a bald assertion. That's all it is. It's the same. I mean, there's a lot that can be said about it, but at a fundamental level, people use lived experience or anecdote as a substitute for reason because they fail to realize that experience itself does not equate to knowledge.
Yep.
Experience is not the same thing as knowledge. This is also the big problem with people who are older than you, who expect you to just do what they tell you to do or believe what they tell you to believe simply because of their age, because they act as if the quantity of their experience somehow equates to quality of wisdom. But those aren't the same thing. You only extract wisdom from your experiences through reason.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, you have to look at the arguments involved, the reasons for adopting a belief or taking a stance, rather than just who is saying that and what experiences they have.
Yep. Big time. Now, that is a similar response that I would have heard Ben Shapiro saying when it comes to rightfully criticizing the personal experience argument. The amount of Daily Wire hosts I've seen criticize personal experience. They would give very eloquent reasons for why that's wrong. It's very similar to your response, but they sound just like social justice activists, just like what they would deem woke leftists on this topic. And it's just,
honestly, I think both parties in this are kind of ridiculous. Although clearly the bad optics are in Logan Paul's field. But that's because he's just he seems to be just the kind of person who just instigates. He just makes a big hubbub, and that really seems like the kind of guy.
Like not thinking before he acts.
Yeah,
maybe not thinking before he acts.
They're just sharing their stories and their experiences, and he is so set on making them look ridiculous and cheapening them. Like, this man is talking about his experiences and all the good things that have happened in his life and this massive change, and Logan is boiling it down to subscribers. Oh, got you subscribers? That's not the only thing that matters in life. Yeah, Gideon has like 8 million subscribers on one of his YouTube channels, but I doubt that's the most important thing in his life. He's arguing that it's not the most. And you're sitting here like, oh yeah, it's just subscribers, right? Oh yeah, no, that couldn't have happened. No, you probably did. It's just let people speak. Let them share their experiences before you jump down their throat trying to prove that everything they believe is wrong and incorrect and backwards. It's basic decency and respect to your guests and to your friends. Somebody commented and said, the way Logan is trying to downplay is crazy, LOL. Another person said, Gideon is very well spoken on this. Utmost respect. Both of these men, even in the face of this guy that basically just wanted to troll them, they were so balanced. They were so level-headed. Yes, massive respect. And just like George, Gideon decided to fully dive into making content about what he believes in. In fact, 10 days ago, he posted a video on his main channel saying that that was going to be his last upload. He was starting a Christian channel, and he was going to focus all of his efforts, all of his energy on that channel and sharing his experiences and talking about God.
Massive YouTuber by the name of Gideon.
God that Brett Cooper doesn't believe in.
Announced.
So wait, how do we know that Brett Cooper is non-religious? How do we know?
So there were a few public either tweets or videos in the past of Brett Cooper being non-religious, but we were told by a Daily Wire producer in July that Brett Cooper is an atheist. And so I'll tell everybody a story. We were at a conference several months ago, and we were trying to see if I or another Atheists for Liberty personality could get on Brett Cooper's show to talk about like anti-woke atheism, or how atheists are also reaching out to the right to try to normalize atheism and secularism there, and how that's part of being a good constitutionalist. And I remember this one producer said, well, Thomas, I don't think I don't think that would really matter if you go on Brett Cooper's show, because Brett Cooper would already be in agreement with you on all of these things. It'd be much better if we got you on a show where you're confronted about religion, because Brett Cooper's audience is already your audience. Something to that effect. Well, then why the heck is a video like this out on her channel? But I'm pointing out the hypocrisy also from the other end. She is an atheist. Why it isn't interesting that she's not as well saying, I'm an atheist. I understand the difference between criticizing religious beliefs and doing these disruptive kind of attacks on people on your show. Notice how that's not being mentioned here. And I don't think that's going to be mentioned within the final 2 minutes of this segment, but we'll see if I'm wrong.
The video that he was putting out was going to be his last video on his main channel, and that he was going to be starting a new channel devoted completely to the promotion of Christianity and his faith.
Look at Logan Paul shaking his head as if he was not one of the ones who caused Gideon to do this. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, that's so sick. Yeah, you were just ridiculing him for his beliefs.
Breaking news.
I think a lot of people were looking at that like, this is so random.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
oh man,
like I've never seen any YouTuber at that size just go straight. I want to put my whole life to the Lord.
It's just wild to me.
And maybe there is actually a valid argument to the grifting thing. I've not seen this guy's content. Maybe that is the case. We don't know.
How shocked they are that this happened, that this man that they know is a Christian and takes this very seriously. They're laughing about it. Oh, this is so crazy. Can you imagine? So random. Like it's that rare for somebody to, leave behind their old ways and their brand and their content for something greater, something that is obviously more important to them. And then Logan Paul just sitting there in his crime shirt is laughing his head off because obviously he is not pushed by anything greater other than purely, fame and wealth. And the fact that this is the second example of this just gives me a ton of hope. And I love it because both of these men could have totally compromised their values, even just
I think
on
that she is
impulsive with
completely
Logan.
right about Logan Paul's personality here. Yeah. I do think that the guy is just fame and wealth driven.
And it's good that if they have their values, that they are not compromising them. People should be who they actually are. They shouldn't lie. They shouldn't grift. They shouldn't have to feel like they can't speak about what they actually care about, because a camera's in front of them or because they have a brand to protect. I understand that point. She's right about that too.
Though, interestingly enough, actually, this might be his way of trying to pursue something that he perceives to be greater. It could, because a lot of these arguments he's presenting and the kind of asshole nature he's using reminds me of me when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It's like he's just discovered atheism and now he's just shit posting atheism everywhere. Maybe I don't know enough about the guy and I've never cared enough to look at the guy to look into him, but his methodology screams angsty teenage atheist to me.
Yes. And in that way, I see that as a good thing. Like if there's a way for Logan Paul to still be a passionate, fiery atheist, but to also learn, when to criticize beliefs, how to do it, how to come off as still respectful, but also still passionate, not pull punches, not be afraid to criticize certain ideas, but do it properly. I think with his level of fame, he would be an invaluable asset to movement atheism. And so, hey, Logan, if you're seeing this and you ever want to reach out, you ever want to come on the channel, you ever want to talk to me, we could talk about it. I would certainly be fine with that. And I'll also, we'll end the review of this segment here, I'll also say this. Last week we criticized Candace Owens, another Daily Wire host. This week we're criticizing Brett Cooper. There are things, personally speaking, that I would agree with Brett Cooper on a variety of social issues, culture war related issues. I just think she's dead wrong in her analysis of this. Be more than happy to discuss this with her or with others, in the Daily Wire network, either on one of their shows or on this show, or, somewhere in the Atheists for Liberty community. But I think it's very important that we remain consistent. Culture wars change, branding changes. What if atheism in their space becomes even more relevant? Maybe there'll be less videos of this, like this, and more videos in our direction. But the videos that we come out with and the things that we come out with on this channel and in this brand, I'm going to promise to all of you watching here, they're going to remain consistent. We're making enemies on the left and the right here, and we're gaining allies on the right and the left, because we have a single message. We have our mission. We have our values. We're not changing. We're not changing for a price tag. We're not changing just to garner a larger audience somewhere else. We're remaining the way we're remaining. And for those of you who watch the show for a while, you could basically rename the stream right now to Political Pandering to Religion Stinks with Thomas Sheedy. That's what half of my rants have been on this show. But it's so true, and it's something that I just feel like I need to scream from the rooftops more and more and more again, because this kind of pandering to faith, especially by people who don't believe it, and are doing it maybe because their producer put a script on the desk, or they want to reach out to a certain audience, or a certain wave of this belief or that belief is coming into the studio. We're not going to operate like that. And that is my promise to all of you.
I think the bottom line up front here is that she's making the mistake of conflating criticism of Christianity in general with Logan Paul's odious behavior.
Yeah.
And I think that's expedient for her, because what it does is it further reinforces this belief amongst a lot of Christians that the people that the people that hate their religion are all these arrogant, angry people who are disrespectful and mean. Those mean atheists over there.
Those mean atheists. That's what atheism is. And if you're an atheist and you're not disrespectful like Logan Paul, you're going to be quiet about your atheism then. This is the problem. Now we have to push back against this stuff in the culture even more. In a way, it's Logan Paul's fault, and in a way, it's also Brett Cooper's fault, or whoever told her to say these things.
Well, honestly, I have little. I am not impressed by Brett Cooper's analysis, and I'm also very much not impressed by Logan Paul's behavior. Yeah. I mean, I do think that there is a place for being a firebrand, and I do think that there's always a place for ridiculing Christianity. I think we should.
I see the smile there.
But there's a difference. There is a clear difference between ridiculing Christianity and ridiculing a person for being a Christian. Pointing out the absurdity of slaughtering children for making fun of a man's bald head is ridiculing Christianity.
Yes, and we should ridicule that a lot. Yeah.
Whereas telling someone that they need therapy for being a Christian, that's ridiculing the person, not the religion. And that there's a clear distinction there. And the problem is, Brett is, like, even when reading her comments, she's completely failing to point out that distinction, because the failure to do so is expedient for her.
Yeah, well said. And by the way, everybody, if you're watching this later on, what do you think of the disagreements between Logan Paul and his former colleagues, as well as Brett Cooper's analysis? I would love to see this, see your takes, everybody, in the comments section below. We are eventually going to be actually making videos where we review and go over all of your comments in our clips and in our live streams. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what all of you have to say about that. And also, if you're really liking more of what we're doing and the content that we're putting out, the advertisements, we put videos out online. Do you guys have Instagram? And if so, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Atheists for Liberty. It's a different handle compared to our other platforms, but we're growing on Instagram as well. It would be great if we can get some extra followers there. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube and you like what you're seeing so far, be sure to hit the like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It's just a 2-second thing that you can do. and if you hit the notification bell to see more content, it'd be great to have more of you become part of our regular audience, because we listen to all of your suggestions and ideas, because we want to better this programming for all of you. We want to make sure that we come up with educational and good content to help win the culture war, and to do it right and to do it properly. And a lot of creators, they don't listen to those who rightfully consume their content and believe in what those creators believe in. Well, we want to do that. We want to do the right thing at Atheists for Liberty when it comes to that. So, want to go into the review of our last video here. This is a YouTube short by the amazing atheist himself, TJKirk. He has been around on YouTube since, I believe, the late 2000s. He's always been a controversial guy as well. You could argue from an optics perspective and professionalism perspective that I have, and we even have a little bit of a difference from him when it comes to some stuff. But also there's some things that I happen to still agree with the man on. So I want to review the YouTube short here. I'll screen share for that. And then we'll get into where we maybe agree with TJ and where we don't. I'm going to go ahead and do the same Broomery share screen, and here we go. Just going to go ahead and refresh this.
I hate religion. I hate it all. You know, this idea that we ought to be taking our cues from these ancient books of superstitions and fairy tales is ludicrous to me. I think the fact that there are human beings who live in our modern era that was brought to us by science, and yet they want to ignore science in favor of mythology, I think is ludicrous, silly, superstitious nonsense. If that's how you want to live, then go live in a cave. Put your knuckles firmly on the ground where they belong, because you're a caveman. You know, I think that's what you deserve. I think you deserve a life of subsistence in a miserable, wet cave.
So there's a lot to unpack there.
So I followed TJKirk back when he was the Amazing Atheist rather than Amazing Atheist. Back when I was an edgy teenager. Then of course he rebranded as TJKirk, and then he went to Amazing Atheist because he couldn't get the tacked on there for some reason.
Yes.
Now TJKirk, he's always been very, very vitriolic and critical of religion, and I'd say justly so, because religion has a lot to answer for. I mean, there's probably the greatest amount of human suffering in all history has been perpetuated by religions and dogmas of all stripes, particularly when they gain political power. Now, that being said, TJ, I sort of sensed this sort of thread in there of, oh yes, why listen and read these dusty old moldering books when you have just the modern era to look to? And I would posit to TJ that the modern era is based on the foundation of the more, quote, primitive people that came before. I don't really think TJ would give much credence to men like Aristotle or Plato or, the ancient philosophers, or really much ancient wisdom at all. And I think the problem with that is that, obviously you can look at Aristotle. His biology was completely wrong in a lot of ways. He did not understand a lot of science. But that being said, everything we know is within the context of Aristotle's logic. Mm-hmm. The three rules of thinking: that things are themselves, that things are not what they are not, and that things can not simultaneously be what they are and what they are not. That is the context within which all knowledge exists. The ancients do deserve our respect because modernity is based upon the wisdom of the ancients. Now, that being said, I don't give much credence to, or I don't really derive much wisdom from the Christian ancients or the Abrahamic faiths in general. I think they have a lot of really, there isn't all that much moral wisdom to be found in there. Not scientific wisdom or even moral wisdom. I'd say that the moralities taught by these faiths are backwards compared to the more ancient moralities that were taught by the Greek pagans. But I guess the thing is, I would wholeheartedly agree with TJ's assertion. The only thing I would caution is not to reject ancient knowledge or ancient writings in their entirety simply because they were from a time when most everyone was subsistence farmers. Right. I don't think that is the reason to reject Christianity or religion in general, or really ancient teachings in general, or tradition in general.
Oh, well, it's old, so.
Yeah, the reason to reject these things is because of the reasons to reject them. And in particular, I think the most heinous of which is the consistent teaching that people are not the owners of themselves, and that rather they were born to be slaves. Now, TJ's mistake that he makes in a lot of his other videos, especially when he starts talking about politics, is that he rejects the idea that some God owns him and his life, but not because he rejects the idea of something owning him. He seems perfectly content to support socialism and statist dogmas and ideologies.
Yeah.
Associated with those. It seems to me that TJ's rejection of religion is not grounded in any real philosophical principle, but rather just in the God not real. And I see the bad things that religion does, therefore religion bad. Which is,
so I think when it comes to TJ, I think that the reason I showed this clip is to show that he's still stating things that I would absolutely agree with. That he, in many ways, still is that original amazing atheist that he always was. So when I was in high school, I grew up watching TJKirk, watching the Amazing Atheist all the time, binging his videos time and time again. So like 10 years ago in 2013, I would there'd be a watch history of every Amazing Atheist video ever. That was me. And I think it's very important that we highlight those that we might disagree with on other issues when we can agree with them on one or two issues. I think, there's been a lot of dunking from some anti-woke atheists on the Amazing Atheist recently, when we should give proper credit to TJ, at least when it comes to this topic. And I'm in agreement with you. He should reject these ideas after further study of these ideas. I do respect that approach. But I think he just has a place. He has a place on YouTube.
Well, of course, everyone, free speech, everyone has a place in the public forum.
But even for what we're trying to accomplish, I think he has a place, because not everybody's going to come to the same conclusion about religion that maybe you or I would have. Some people are going to come at it from a different approach. So that's where I think the Amazing Atheist is still relevant. So
I think my problem with him, though, is exactly the thing you just pointed out, though, is that he hasn't really changed or grown. He's still the same Amazing Atheist. It's even back in the day, 15 years ago, the guy was very much the Occupy Wall Street kind of guy.
Right.
The guy is basically believes that rich people should not be allowed to exist, and that they should just all their wealth.
Just my personal opinion, just very ludicrous. But to be fair, I think for some people, when they've gotten into heterodox spaces where they used to watch the Amazing Atheist years ago, and then they would criticize woke feminism or woke ideology or the woke religion, whatever we want to call it, they get so surprised that TJKirk does not hold all the positions that they hold.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'm starting to realize, especially after watching some of his content again, he really hasn't changed too much. I don't like the fact that he's going after Richard Dawkins. He's gone after Bill Maher. He's gone after people that I really think he shouldn't. But then again, that's TJ. TJ has always not cared about what team he's on or what side he's on.
Well, it's
he will say whatever he wants to say.
It's fashionable amongst left-wing atheists now to go after the old guard of atheists.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I hate that.
Richard Dawkins bad because transphobia.
Right. And he's not he's in this weird middle ground of he's not. People say, oh, TJ's gone woke. I wouldn't argue that he's gone woke. He might have changed his positions on a few issues and gone slightly more to the left after maybe not liking what the anti-woke community has become. But like,
He hasn't gone woke.
Yeah, he hasn't gone woke. He's just
always been woke.
He's always had positions that I've totally agreed with him on, and he's always had positions that I don't agree with him on. And unfortunately, I don't like that he's again gone after Dawkins and Marr now. I think that doesn't help his brand. But I wanted to just sprinkle this clip in to show that, you know, there are valid things that the Amazing Atheists still say, and we shouldn't disregard somebody because we might disagree with them on 55 or 60% and only agree with them on 40%. I think it's important to highlight that 40%. And I don't want other atheists to fall into the trap of, well, he believes in this one crazy thing in politics or that other crazy thing in politics. Therefore, the substance that he does say that can get far more people to eventually watch our content, you know, oh, let's not do that. Like for example, you know, he might not like hearing this. He might one day review this video or watch this because he actually he did a quote tweet of the advertisement of this stream today when we tagged him on Twitter, now X. But like, you know, this is what I'm going to say. He is very responsible for bringing a lot of people from the atheist community into anti-feminism and anti-wokeism. He might not like that. He might be like, I really regret that now. Oh, I can't believe it. People like Sheedy and these.
This reminds me of the drama that was between him and Harmful Opinions, of Harmful Opinions retorting to him saying, "What are you talking about? You created me."
He kind of did. He was a part of my creation, and he was a part of yours and other people too. Definitely amongst some people in the organization in Atheists for Liberty. And TJ might pause this when doing a review of this stream and go, I freaking regret that. Oh, darn it. TJ, thank you. TJ, you did a good thing. I know you might not agree with that, but think about this, TJ. And I don't know if TJ remembers this. He tried criticizing us on Twitter back in 2021 when we were at CPAC.
The problem
Isn't it a good thing,
the problem
TJ?
is that TJ is ashamed of the good things that he's done. I mean, watch his channel trailer. He's ashamed of the good things that he's done, and he's proud of the bad things that he's doing.
I know. And I hope he realizes that, you know, isn't it a good thing that the side, like, for example, he considers himself to be on the left. Isn't it a good thing, TJ, if conservatism or libertarianism becomes more secular and they base their arguments out of reason and not faith? Wouldn't we be in a better society where there'd be less what you would consider to be BS coming from the right that you have to criticize on YouTube? Well, isn't that a good thing?
Well, that's the thing. If anything, conservatives and libertarians, right-wingers using logic and reason to defend their ideas makes them more formidable to his political goals. So if anything, that would make him more concerned.
Yeah.
It's like oh well, the right aren't these crazy religious people anymore. Now they're actually intellectually dangerous, right?
But
so
then
I don't think
he could make videos about that. He could. Wouldn't it be better to consider somebody to be intellectually dangerous than superstitious? Wouldn't it be better to have a population of people on the right and people on the left who debate using reason instead of superstition? I would say overall, for the health of the society, that's a good thing. And he can still make videos criticizing those people for their other positions. You know,
yeah, I mean, for someone who values the marketplace of ideas, yes, surely that's a good thing. You know, everyone relying on logic. You know, I think everyone should be men and women of reason, and then we can let reality be the final arbiter when we disagree. I think that is how we should exist amongst one another. The problem is, I think TJ is too committed to the political dogmas that he has long embraced since he was young. That I don't think
he might not. You think he wouldn't understand the bigger picture?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he'd be able to step back and be like, okay, you know what? Some of you right wingers are reasonable people. It's like he views us as moron. I mean, didn't he post a tweet like maybe a couple of years ago, like when AFL first came out, like Atheists for Liberty, more like Atheists for Stupidity?
This was 2021 when we were. This was like our second year at CPAC. He criticized that. And by the way, TJ and everybody else, you know, who might be watching, you know, while we want to normalize atheism on the right as well, we're not exclusively right wing. We're actually an atheist organization. So we believe in something called cognitive liberty. But we have atheists who are Democrats. We have atheist members who are Republicans. We have atheist members who are libertarians, centrists, independents, you name it, who in many cases, a good chunk of our own membership, they became the people who they are today by watching old TJKirk Amazing Atheist videos. So this is what I want to say again, like, thank you, TJ. You should own that you did this. You're one of the many people who did this.
Be proud of it.
It's a good thing. Be
proud
freaking
of
proud of
yourself.
it. Be freaking proud of it. You know, like I remember all these like woke atheists who took over the atheist community, they all considered TJ to be a pariah. You know, we had to create AFL, TJ, because the same people who considered you a pariah considered us to be a pariah. In many cases, we have a lot of the same enemies. Now, we're probably going to vehemently disagree on a good chunk of substance, maybe even more than 50% of it. But your name is still on YouTube, Amazing Atheist. We are atheists for liberty. When it comes to that main focal point, you got to admit we're kind of cutting you some slack here. We're being very respectful to you. And what if I offer this to now? Logan Paul, Brett Cooper. I'll offer it to TJ as well. Again, I guess he pays attention to our stuff to a degree, or at least if he gets mentioned somewhat or sees it on his feed. You are more than welcome to come on this channel too. We have debates on the channel all the we're doing it more. We're having more debates on the channel. It's something that we could definitely continue with someone like TJ, being a guest like that too. But I wanted to point that out because I really wanted all of you in the audience to see some consistent and quote unquote good things that TJ is still saying. Now, the way he was dramatic towards the end of that short, I understand that some people might consider that to be just like how Logan Paul was. But that's just TJ. That's always TJ. That's always how he's going to be. You have to also understand that he is that edgy YouTuber, and there's a place for edgy YouTubers too, because there are people that will buy that content.
There is a tendency amongst a lot of people to view passion as a vice, which is always a mistake. Honestly, passion, particularly when directed in the right direction, is a good thing. I think I'll quote Barry Goldwater here. Moderation in the defense of liberty is no virtue, and extremism in the pursuit of justice is no vice. Honestly, I think that is something to remember, is that there's nothing wrong with being passionate. There's nothing wrong with a feeling what you are thinking. Reason and emotion are not opposites. In fact, in a lot of ways, they can complement one another. I think I forgot who said this, but one of the founders said, affix reason firmly at the seat of your carriage and have your passion be the horse that drives it. People who will fault someone simply because they're passionate or just either, I think they're making a grave mistake, and it is certainly a mistake to try and live life dispassionately without feeling much of anything at all.
Yeah, unfortunately that's something that's a debate that's plagued the atheist community for years. Firebrand or diplomat, hardline atheist or soft humanist, walking friendly agnostic or passionate militant atheist. That's going to always continue. Why not both? And we see it that way in Atheist for Liberty. We have people that have a variety of different strategies, persuasions on these methods, and it's good that we work together. We always need the people on the front lines who are willing to take the heat, and we always need the support and artillery and nice guys and humanists and community builders in the back. There's a place for everybody here. And we do this in Atheists for Liberty all the time, not only online in our Discord server or in our Facebook group, but also with our in-person meetings that we're having more and more across the country. So we really want all of you to be a part of that and to know that regardless of what you might call yourself from a non-religious point of view or what tactics you may use, you are welcome here. We really do want to build bridges. Now, we want to call out hypocrisy, and that's what we're doing here with a lot of these segments. And I've kind of been doing that more and more in the past few weeks. But we also want to build community. We want to build bridges with people who we can disagree, who we can agree with on certain issues and disagree with on others. But we're not going to, hold punches. We're going to stick to our principles too. So it's why also, Ruin, I'm very glad that I've had you on the show, because I knew that you were going to be just that. You're not going to hold back on anything, but you're going to see the value in when to say this or when to say that, or who to work with.
I am an atheist for liberty. That is in a lot of ways that sums up a lot of my views, and I'm in support of those two things for the same reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and I certainly appreciate you having me on to throw my thoughts everywhere.
And we haven't even gotten to the Q&A yet. We haven't even gotten to the Q&A. We haven't even gotten to the comments and questions yet. That's how much we had to go over for now, guys. And by the way, I want to ask another question for everybody, and you can go ahead and comment this in the comments below if you're watching this at a later date. Do you like me reviewing videos, pausing in the middle, and then giving commentary? I know some YouTubers like to do that. This is our third stream where we've kind of done article and video review in this kind of format in a row. And if you like that, leave a comment below. Give us your thoughts. We really want to make sure that we put up content that is entertaining but also informative to get this information to you guys as best as possible. So without further ado, guys, we're going to go ahead and showcase the Q&A, and then we'll end the show soon after that. Let's see. Rolling says, are we going to talk about Andrew Tate crying? No. I very much do not even like to have AFL dragged into all the debates surrounding him, and also the various podcasts and discussions surrounding him and that whole movement when it comes to gender. But when it comes to religion, I definitely think we need to rightfully call things out for what they are, and that's where we'll bring him up. I think that was a very important topic. Hey, Alf. Hey, guys, we're making dinner, but we're listening. Thank you. By the way, another great channel for you all to subscribe to, Alf Benny's channel. We got Jennifer Burns saying, I'm assuming she's talking about Andrew Tate. He's unwatchable. I know a lot of people that will agree with you on that. Roland says, doesn't he claim to be a trillionaire or whatever? I don't know. I think he said he was a millionaire, but I have no actual idea of his net worth and what he actually has.
There was this video that came out a while ago of some Harvard students arguing for why white people don't matter, and he had the same kind of energy in the way he spoke as Andrew Tate does, like the way he talks. I don't know. It's just like he talks really fast and then takes deep gasping breaths and then talks really fast and
breathe air. That's the one quote that I remember. He doesn't like vaping, apparently. I think this is Rolling talking about the Daily Wire people, because we were talking about Ben Shapiro, I think, at this time, Mark. There's a common misconception about people like this. When they say facts don't care about your feelings, that doesn't mean they care about facts. And you know what? That's very, very true. I will credit some of the anti-woke media and even conservative media type people. I think they're very much in the factual category when it comes to the industry of criticizing wokeism that is booming and booming and booming and booming and booming. It's kind of becoming too repetitive at this point, but there's a lot of great logical people in those industries who make great content and talk about from a rational, heterodox point of view why it's wrong to believe these kind of things, wrong to believe the lived experience of being non-binary and identifying as transracial, or you can't criticize Islam because that's my lived experience. A lot of those content creators produce a lot of great stuff, and we should respect them for that, but not blindly believe everything that's showcased by them now, especially since now you're starting to see more and more anti-secularism content, more and more anti-atheism content. And it's very important that we all remain the free thinkers that we are, that we all remain vigilant. There are things that people who will say they're on the left will come out with that definitely fits in line with AFL and what we're doing. And there are people on the right who will say things on other ends. I've kind of turned myself into a walking, talking 501c3 status now, because I've started to learn, you know what? Not everything that's on my so-called side is correct. And I think if we have more people within our network that admit that truth, I think we're going to be a better community for it. Let's see what else. I'm assuming, he's talking about Logan Paul here. Yeah. We have Danny Christ saying this also perpetuates the angry atheist stereotype. Yeah, Logan's actions make our lives as activists, as atheist activists, even harder. all of us as supporters of AFL even harder. Good point there. So we have Jenny says, yeah, I'm confused. I don't know who Logan Paul is, but at least in the clip we're seeing, he doesn't seem badly behaved. Well, there were certain segments where Logan Paul asked questions reasonably.
Yeah, I
okay.
think the most egregious one was just the assertion that the guy needed to go to therapy.
Yeah, like you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, I mean that really is in my mind, that's probably the most egregious of Logan Paul's behaviors there. A lot of it, I mean, a lot of things he was saying was actually quite reasonable. Like, oh, okay, so you're here saying that, you know, Christianity is valid because, you know, of your financial success and your success in life and whatnot. Okay, so basically you're saying that God gave you subscribers. I honestly, I don't see that as just being scummy. I actually see that as being a valid objection.
That, and then when Logan Paul asked his then Muslim colleague, this is in the first clip that Brett Cooper shared on her channel, when Logan was asking, you know, how do you know that Allah is real and not a different God? How do you know that your particular religion, your particular brand is true? I think it's a valid
question. Yeah.
You know, Ben Shapiro has been in plenty of interviews with Christians where he's had to talk about the differences between his religious beliefs and the beliefs of Christians or Muslims. It's not different there.
Yeah, but just asserting that you're mentally incompetent because you believe in a thing, that's not an argument.
Yes. Yeah, that's where Logan Paul really dropped the ball. We have Gnostic Atheist saying, Jen, this is him replying to Jenny, but this is this is more in line with the Logan Paul conversation. I only know Logan because he allegedly did some very disrespectful stunts in Japan. I say allegedly because I haven't seen the videos for myself. I just trust my sources. So I know that, you know, like Ruin was just saying here, you know, there are definitely people that like Logan Paul, just like Andrew Tate and the Amazing Atheist, and there are people who dislike them. So I haven't seen you know, those claims, but you know, maybe they're true. Who knows?
Logan's always struck me as kind of a buffoon. I remember that back when the whole internet was angry at him over that. But also, there's this a slightly less egregious one was where he like claimed to be like colorblind and then put on like the anti-colorblind glasses and was like, it was like totally faking a reaction. It's just like,
right,
oh, dude,
Jenny then also follows up and says, I really don't think anyone from the Daily Wire should be throwing shade at other podcasts for internal strife and splintering, especially when it comes to faith and religion now. You're seeing the hypocrisy. Facts don't care about your feelings. Really? Well, when it comes to a book about a magical man in the sky with no actual data and proof to back the claims up, lived experience. Got Rolling saying, you guys make good points for bringing up religious experiences, like BLM saying you don't know what it's like to be black in America, or a feminist saying you don't know what it's like to be a woman.
It's a Christian saying you don't know what it's like to be a Christian. God has touched me in so many ways that you could never know. It's like, oh, touched you?
Yep.
But yeah, in all seriousness, it's the same kind of argument. It's argument from anecdote. It's I feel this way about an experience, therefore my interpretation of my experience is valid. Yes. It's like, no, like just having drawn some conclusions about an experience does not give credence to the conclusions that you derive from that experience. You need the gap between your conclusions and your experience has to be filled by logic. And if you're and that requires that you actually lay out the reasons why you drew those conclusions from that experience. You can't just say, I have this experience, therefore a conclusion. That's the reason. That's the whole reason why argument from anecdote is just baseless.
I want to quickly tell everybody a story relating to Ruin here. Whenever Ruin is with us at a conference, you know, we go to national conferences around the country to normalize atheism and to also grow the movement and our programs and what we do. And especially when we're at like the conservative events, for instance, you'll get theocrats or Christians or Jews or Muslims. They'll come up to our booth and often argue with us about faith when we're trying to talk to everybody else who's coming up to the booth to try to, you know, get them in network and to tell them about what we're doing to get more social media followers or members. You know, I as president have to move place to place to try to make sure that we have a good, efficient operation running. And sometimes these people that just want to come in and debate us often gets in the way. Not saying that I cower away from debates or whatever, But this is how articulate I think Ruin is. Whenever somebody wants to have like a 3-hour conversation with us about their version of God or their version of faith, and they just want to waste our time half the time, I just send Ruin to go debate them, and I'll come back. Like if I have to go to lunch, or like if I haven't eaten for 5 hours or 7 hours because I've been manning the booth all day, I'll go to lunch, and 2 hours later I'll come back, and Ruin is still grilling them. And then usually, I've noticed this, it's usually the theocrats, it's usually the religionists who actually have to leave the conversation later on. Maybe honestly, this is just an idea. I'm coming up with it on the fly in public. Maybe we should have you as a debate host. That's another thing. Maybe we should get Ruin as one of the debate hosts.
I'm the kind of person who I enjoy debating, even when it's with people who are not debating in good faith, even when it's with people who are just being belligerent. So I'm weird that way. Maybe I just like pain. I'm some sort of masochist. I don't know, but obviously, I'm not going to lie. My favorite kind of discussion is one where both parties are engaging in good faith and we're using good arguments and good logic. However, dealing with someone who's not dealing in good faith gives me the opportunity to use strategies and tactics that you would not normally get to use.
Right.
And so that's always fun.
We got Jenny saying, isn't there a possibility that this person starting his own podcast, I think this is the second person who started the channel about Christianity, just hung around his relatively famous friend's podcast just to get enough attention to start his own channel with a large audience? Yes, Logan Paul might be right about the grifting. And then they apparently chatted about this, and a few, this was on Logan Paul's stream, I guess probably a month later or 2 months later, whenever that was, they were talking about how that might have been the case. But of course, hypocrisy for thee, not for me. Brett Cooper, not trying to be, state this as a personal attack or whatever. Interesting how she didn't, state that, how there's a possibility there that could have actually been a grift. There are so many stories of pastors and preachers getting into the religion industry because they could make so much money off the topic alone. So, not to say that we're rolling in cash. We're a small nonprofit and we're growing. That's why we ask for all of you to become members and supporters, but there are people who grift and go all in on a topic that they might not even be as passionate about, just to become more relevant in business. Not saying that that's him. Might not be. But we don't know that that's not the case either. I'm assuming this is a talk about Brett Cooper. She's written for the Foundation for Economic Education. She was an ambassador for PragerU and Turning Point USA. Yep. Conservative ambassador. Not surprised. I'm with Chris on that. Hit that like button. Thank you, Chris, so much for tuning in. We got Danny Chris saying, I can't listen to TJ anymore. He's gone way too far left. I know that we have some members in AFL who do have that perspective. I understand where they're coming from. But like I kind of said earlier, I think he's always been that way politically. I think people are just so surprised because maybe some people evolve on politics, maybe not with religion, and then they're so surprised that TJ's not with them on the politics. I think he's been fairly consistent. I disagree with some of the tactics he's doing. Like I said, it's unwise to go after Dawkins, unwise to go after Marr. There are some things that he just does from an optics perspective that I go but he's always been that way. He's always been that way. So I can't really criticize him in that regard. I just hope I just wish that he could see the bigger picture when it comes to some of these atheist movement and secularism related topics.
You can say a lot of things about TJ, but one thing you cannot say is that he's been inconsistent. I mean, you can argue that his logic is inconsistent in some ways, but I mean, inconsistent isn't historically inconsistent with himself.
No.
So.
Rolling says, I haven't watched The Amazing Atheist since I was 16. I don't regret stopping.
Yeah, he's the edgy teenagers atheist YouTuber.
Yes.
And he hasn't changed.
That's when I got started watching,
He's still the edgy teenager.
He is. And we need people like him. We actually do. Because there's there are people who want to be those edgy teenagers. And those people will grow up and they'll want to help change the country. And so we need to provide a venue for them. And if TJKirk gets their start in all that, I don't see that as a bad thing. David says, I would buy the t-shirts you're both wearing. Free advertising, just saying hashtag merch watch. Well, thank you, David. We are working on the creation of a merch store. It is not complete yet. It is something that we had in the works, and we were working on it. We had to put a temporary stop to that, but that is something we want to continue to do. If you're still interested in just privately wanting one, we might have a few extras, and if not, we can try to work on something. I always, even if we don't have a merch store, I always want to do what we can to spread the word about the organization. These shirts are actually really cool because on the back of these shirts, there's a QR code on the back that links to our organization, social media. The branding is cool. The color is cool. I really have to give credit to the people in our operations team who made that possible. So David, if you are interested, you can email info@atheistsforliberty.org, and we would be more than happy to continue the conversation with you there.
As soon as you set up the merch store, I'm going to buy 3 more shirts. I love this shirt. It's my favorite shirt I have. But I mean, there's a little bit of competition between this and the street epistemology one. But
so now we're gonna have to move that up on the to-do list now for the org. All right. I'm glad. I'm very glad, and we'll definitely, it's something we're going to be very proud of having soon. We have Danny, I think, talking about the Amazing Atheist again, saying he rejects religion because of lack of evidence, then turns around to embrace trans ideology based on no evidence. I think TJ, I don't think TJ has ever been seen as anti-trans in his past either. So I don't know. But I think
one thing I want to say is there is a distinction between, there's a distinction between being against Christians and being against Christianity, and distinction between being against Muslims and Islam. Same way here, it's being in opposition to trans ideology is distinct from being against trans people. Speaking for myself, I believe in the sovereignty of the individual, meaning that I think if you want to sell your kidney, sell your kidney. If you want to modify your body, modify your body. Maybe someday I want like an integrated jetpack. It's like I think transhumanism is a good thing. People should be able to alter themselves as they see fit, sculpt themselves in a way that is attuned to their desires.
Oh my God, that's a debate that we could get into. Not you and I, but that could be had on the channel. I bet that would actually be.
There's a difference between transhumanism and trans ideology. Right, and I do see a lot of people conflating the philosophies
because the word trans is in it.
Yeah, because the word trans is in it. But the difference is that trans ideology is an attempt to use subjectivistic, postmodernist logic to just deny reality for what it is. You need to be able to recognize reality for what it is to engineer something, and you can't engineer a thing, whether it be steel girders on a bridge or a laser beam or a human body integrated with some sort of high-tech prosthesis. You can't engineer that without recognizing reality for what it is. And the problem with trans ideology is it is a rejection of the idea that we need to use logic to understand reality for what it is and to recognize physical realities. Rather, someone becomes a woman because we call them a woman.
Right.
The calling does not make the thing real. Rather, we try to use language to accurately describe the characteristics of the thing that we're describing. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to change reality using the techniques and methodology available to us. But rejecting the idea that there's a connection between our language and reality is extremely dangerous, and it's a massive philosophical mistake.
Okay, so have Ruin on channel more, make him debate host, have more debates. This is kind of what's going on in my head right now. How can we make this even more interesting?
Yeah.
We got Rolling saying Dark Matter 2525, Jacqueline Glenn, Cult of Dusty, Amazing Atheist, and Repzion were the main atheist YouTubers for me in my early teens. Same for me. Some of them are still doing what they do. Like Jacqueline Glenn is still an atheist YouTuber. Amazing Atheist, like maybe 50% of his content is still atheism. Dark Matter, I don't like Dark Matter going after some of my anti-woke colleagues who are AFL advisors, but he's been fairly consistent too. And I know some people who are still good friends with him. I always liked his content when I was growing up. But yeah, some of them are still fighting the good fight. Reggie Finley / Atheist Guy was also good back around 2000. Gotcha. We got Physics Hypernova saying TJ's politics I strongly disagree with, but he still has good takes on religion, as you point out here. He has a great outro on his videos nowadays, though. Well, maybe I'll check them out sometime. You know, I'm not saying guys don't watch TJ, do watch TJ. I think when he gives good takes, we have to showcase it. We should. TJ gives me the impression that he doesn't want the right to become secular because then he'd have less to complain about. It's possible, and I hope that isn't the case. I hope that isn't the case. You know, maybe he'll make more videos on the topic. Maybe one day he'll respond to us, and we'll see what his views are. His views are eventually on the topic. TJKirk is just hated by everyone for so many different reasons. Yes, there are a lot of people who do not like him. You know, there are a lot of people who passionately agree with him on even the majority of his views, but might find one or two things, you know, regardless of where other people stand, that they disagree with him on. Again, that's TJ. That's just how he is. TJ has even made good responses to anti-white takes, but pretty much disavowed everything. Okay. Even the major orgs, I don't get the impression they are against libertarian leaving non-believers. They just pay attention to that particular part of the wider non-believing community. Unfortunately, given stuff we know, you know, they do have they do have views that are very much against them. You know, you can watch a good chunk of our other streams with other guests. We get into the history of that, and we go into the specifics.
Who was that guy? The friendly atheist? Forgot Herman Meta.
Herman Meta. Yeah, he loves us.
Like about 10 years ago, actually. This was way before the whole big schism in atheism, and when a bunch of the non-woke atheists ended up being excised from the community. But even like 10 years ago, he released a video on why it's impossible to be an atheist and a Republican, and he came up with a bunch of bullshit reasons. He and people like him still are very much in charge of the major atheist orgs. The same thing with like the thinking atheists. I think he came out with something like that as well. A bunch of reasons why, in order to be an atheist, you have to. I don't remember specifically that, but anyhow.
Let's see. Oh my God. Your reaction videos are a thing now. AFL reaction channel arc begins now. Well, we're going to have more of that. We're going to have more of that. You know, we're not going to have the entire channel be that, but if more of you guys like seeing this kind of content, we're going to continue it. And we're going to bring more people onto the channel too. Not just, you know, different guests on this show, but we also want to bring more hosts and get more people involved and get more kind of videos and content and shows on this channel and also throughout social media too. So again, if you want to see more of that too, guys, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video. If you're watching us on Twitter or on Facebook, be sure to follow our pages and follow us on all the other platforms that you're on too. Get involved and become part of the organization. We also need more volunteers, people to help us produce this content and come up with more segments. So we could all use your help. And again, today, I'm going to market AFL again because it's very important. Today, at least as of November 28, 2023. Today is Giving Tuesday. So if you join Atheists for Liberty today at atheistsforliberty.org, you get to be a part of our community. There's a lot of other benefits that are also listed on the Become a Member website. Depending on your membership level, we mail you signed copies of books signed by famous atheist authors. We'll mail you laptop stickers. We'll mail you a lot of stuff. We'll give shout outs to your name on this channel and on the shows. We really do appreciate everything that you all do, but we need your help. We're having a good chunk of people watch the show now. Imagine where we're going to be in a year because the demand is still there, thanks to all of you. So consider becoming a member, guys, and your donation is going to be doubled up to $10,000 between now and December 31st, 2023. So again, please join Atheists for Liberty today. Become a part of the next iteration of the atheist movement. So we're going to go ahead and just review a few more comments, and then we are going to be done.
Good questions in here, actually.
It's great. The problem is that it keeps flowing. More and more people are submitting stuff. So you know, I don't want to take up more of your time too, but it proves my point. There is more interest. there's more of a conversation that people want to see had.
It is good to consider yourself a free thinker and to be an independent thinker. People are often so fixated on labels and for the similar reasons, and to my chagrin, for similar reasons for why people are so obsessed with aesthetics as well. It's a lot of people will just attach themselves to an ideology or movement because of the labels and the aesthetics. Yeah. And I think it should be the other way around. You should appreciate certain things. Interestingly enough, I do think there's an objective element to aesthetics, but that's a full nother question. That's a full nother discussion. But I think the aesthetics you're drawn to and the labels you're drawn to should be based upon the reasoning. So I definitely can empathize with with this stance. So.
We got Physics Hypernova saying, "What's your most annoying theist argument?" For me, it has to be, "I don't have enough faith to be an atheist."
That argument is pretty annoying. Though
Kirk says that a lot.
Yeah, the funny thing about that argument, though, is that it posits faith to be a bad thing. So it's like, oh, so faith is a bad thing in your eyes. So what about then the scriptural command to exhortations to have faith? What about the idea that it is by faith alone that you're saved? So if faith is a bad thing, then you're saying that the mechanism by which Christ proposes you be saved is a bad thing.
And Ruin, why is faith now seen as a bad thing? Why? Well, the reason why is because you had these YouTubers and these culture war people like TJKirk, like the Amazing Atheist, making these facts over feelings type videos when it came to criticizing SJW culture and all this stuff. The secular audience of the counterculture of that time on the internet went into the other movements. So because the atheists actually normalized the idea of faith being a bad thing and not a rational good thing, you even have people like evangelicals like Charlie Kirk now using the word faith in a negative context, using the word religion in a negative context, like wokeism being a secular religion. Religion bad. That's awesome. That's a win for all the work we've done throughout the years. But
I gotta say, the most annoying theist argument I run into, because this argument I find it. I've read an easy response to. I wouldn't say there are any theist arguments that I don't. To toot my own horn here, but the thing is that I think the most annoying theistic arguments for me are variants of the argument from anecdote. And even though I can easily respond to that one as well, the reason why it's annoying is because it's just such a blatant cop-out to engage in logic. It's like, oh, well, my personal experience, therefore God, therefore you should believe God too. It's like, use logic. Think for once in your life. Just think. All right. And that's
pause for a little bit.
The problem is that a lot of people just like to just not think. They do whatever they can to avoid thinking. And honestly, I think that is the source of most of our sins.
We got John Douglas saying, "Dark matter is a socialist who cares more about the group than they do individual rights. They think it's moral to enslave their fellow man as long as the money goes to the needy." So I think when it comes to a few of them, I would actually personally agree with you. AFL, we don't really get into the fiscal debates. Otherwise, like, we're not even an atheist organization, and we're just an organization that talks about every topic. But definitely, I would agree with you personally on your conclusions about dark matter. Probably TJ as well when it comes to his fiscal views. As well as a few.
I feel the same way. Actually, this guy hits it straight on the head. These people, they do not start from the premise that people own themselves, that you're born with a birthright to be free. That rather they start from, they don't really seem to have, any consistent philosophical premises at all. They reject religion, and then they also embrace left-wing politics, presumably because it's fashionable amongst a lot of people who reject religion. I don't think a lot of these people have a coherent moral philosophy. I think that they just accept the beliefs that are expedient to accept in the communities in which they move.
Yeah. And I actually love this comment from Gnostic Atheist about Hemant Mehta. He says, "Hemant Mehta is also a victim of his own prophecy. He once talked about when atheists will stop being a minority, about the need to have something more than just be angry on Christians." Isn't it interesting? And this is why for the people that were always bashing the firebrand atheists in the atheist community, don't you notice how all the woke people who took over the movement, they were firebrands when it came to social justice, but dunked on all the firebrand atheists. They didn't like David Silverman's tactics. They didn't like Richard Dawkins' tactics. They hated that bluntness about religion, but they were more than willing to be blunt about all the other issues that had nothing to do with the atheist community that led to the downfall of New Atheism, or the original New Atheist movement as we used to know it. It's kind of funny, and it kind of shows you how I think, again, we need the atheists who will be proud about who they are, who will be blunt about the topic. The woke atheists didn't want to talk about atheism anymore. They didn't want to be passionate about their atheism. They wanted to be soft on the topic. No, let's be nice to Islam. Let's be nice to Christianity. Let's be nice to these views because we don't want to be bigots. It's kind of the same thing that we criticize,
It's the same thing that Jordan Peterson has done with Christianity, except Jordan Peterson's being even less honest about it by pretending to be one.
Oh wait, I thought facts don't care about your feelings, John. I thought facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah. Now, I'll never understand the cultural Christian, the person who is a Christian not because they believe it's true, but they believe that the cultural values taught in the supposed Judeo-Christian tradition are somehow useful. It's like an argument for usefulness is not an argument for validity. It is a rejection of reason. And anyone who would propose that you embrace a belief because it is useful rather than it is true, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to reject the idea that reality is the ultimate basis for the reason to believe something.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm going to make some last-minute announcements. Thank you all for submitting your live questions and comments. And if you want to give more comments, or we want to hear from you, what do you think of our coverage of this? What do you think of the various topics that we presented? Let us know in the comments below. Again, guys, if you like seeing this content, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Like this video and hit the notification bell to see more content. If you have a Facebook account, guys, like us at facebook.com/atheistliberty. We go live on Facebook and on X as well. And speaking of X, follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Atheist Liberty, as well as Instagram and all other major platforms that we are on. And again, I'll make one last pitch. You like seeing the online content that we're doing? Do you like the fact that we are reaching out to more grassroots atheists around the country to rebuild the atheist community to be the next iteration of the atheist movement? Then become a member of Atheists for Liberty at atheistsforliberty.org. There's literally a join page on the homepage. And if you don't want to sign up, you can at least get on our email list. If you go onto the homepage at atheistsforliberty.org, you can scroll down so slightly, put your first name, last name, and email address, and you'll be able to get more email updates as well from us too. And that is free. And again, donations are going to be doubled. Between now and December 31st, all donations will be matched thanks to the David Silverman donor match between now and December 31st. And if you're planning on giving today on this Giving Tuesday, we would very much appreciate your support, as we're a 501c3 educational nonprofit organization. We want you in the movement. We want your time. We want your volunteerism. We want your ideas. We want you to help change this country for the better and to save our civilization. So
join Atheists for Liberty. Reason demands that our minds be free.
Reason demands that you must join now. Do it.
Yes.
So Ruin of the Gods, thank you so much for coming on the show. And guys, by the way, we have Ruin's links in the description of this video. Be sure to subscribe to Ruin's channel as well and like him on social media. All of his social media links are in the description again. He's producing some great content, and he just told me before the show, you're going to start producing more content. He's an amazing personality within the Atheists for Liberty family, and I just can't wait to see more and more great things to come on your channel.
I appreciate your kind words, Thomas. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, everybody. Tune in next week on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, as we're going to be having on more great guests as we save this country and promote reason in the 21st century. Take care, everybody.